Did.
Okay, so good evening again. So today we will discuss about classes. Okay, what is we will get introduced to what are classes, and I would like to emphasize that these next three classes will be very important. Okay, because we will be discussing about classes, we'll be discussing about objects, we'll be discussing about methods. Okay, so these are all part of what do you say, like Java is an object-oriented programming, right? So these are all part of your object-oriented programming. That is why these classes are very important. Okay, it doesn't mean that the previous classes, whatever we had, were not important. They are the very basics of Java, and we will take take a step further now. We'll move to a next level with the classes. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. No problem, we are just getting started. Okay, so today's topic is just introduction to classes. We will see the basics of how to define class, how to declare class, how to declare objects, what do you mean by an object. Okay, all those things. And last class, as we know, we've discussed the last control statement, last type of control statement, that is jump statements. Okay, we have three jump statements: break, continue, and the other one I don't remember that. Okay, so and the bitwise operators and operator precedence. Okay, so let's get started with the classes. Okay, so what are these classes? So if we remember our previous classes, right, we wrote all our code, whatever the code, even if you want to declare a single variable, right, a single variable of a primitive data type, we have declared those things in a class definition. Okay, we have declared those, even for a simple variable, we have declared those things within a class. Okay, what does that mean? That means classes are at the core of Java. That means without defining a class, you can't do anything in Java. Okay, without defining a class, you can't do anything with Java. You can't write even a single piece of code, single line of code. Okay, so we have to start with the definition of a class if you want to write some code in Java. Okay, yeah, Kavita. So I'll come to you. I'll come to your point. Okay, so what it defines. So what does a class define? Okay, so Kavita is telling it's a template for object. Okay, state and behavior. Template for object, state and behavior. Yeah, we will see those things, Kavita. Okay, so what we do is we will define, the class will define. Okay, class will define the shape and nature of an object. Okay, we will see what is this object. Okay, say for example, consider any object that you see in your real life. Okay, mobile, you can consider it as an object, right? So the shape is there are various shapes, right? You can have like earlier Apple mobiles, right? 3-inch mobiles, display with 3-inch, and now 5.5, 6-inch mobiles also, right? So it defines shape. Shape is like how it looks, how a particular object looks. Okay, shape is nothing but how a particular object looks. That is how your mobile looks. Okay, nature is what you can do with that particular, or nature or behavior is what that particular mobile can do, what all you can do it with that mobile. You can talk, you can SMS, you can listen to songs, you can play videos, okay, whatnot. Okay, that is your nature or behavior. Okay, so any object which you think, which you have seen, right? Any object in your real life, think about any object in your real life, they'll have these two things. Okay, one is shape plus nature or behavior. Nature or behavior. Okay, any object for that matter. You can think of any object. You can think of pen. Okay, it will have shape. It will have its own shape. It will have it certain length. It will have I mean whatever you can think of. Okay, so nature is you can write. It will have a different. You can have different colored pens. All those things. Okay, nature or behavior. So it will have shape or nature. Shape, we will see how we can define particular shape. Okay, shape is nothing but we will say it in object-oriented programming as state. Okay, state of a variable or nature, behavior. Okay, these are all methods. We will see all these things slowly. Okay, so in Java, what is this class? It forms the basis for object-oriented programming. Okay, why we call these things as object-oriented programming? Why we call this as object-oriented programming? It is based on objects. Okay, how object-oriented? You can understand what exactly that means, right? How objects interact in real life. Object-oriented programming, right? We are talking about object-oriented. Okay, so anything, whatever you think, say if you want to consider humans as objects, okay, there are so many objects, so many humans are there. Okay, so many people. Okay, so whenever they interact with each other, they will exchange something, right? Say for example, one person will be saying something, the other will be listening to it, and he will respond to that one. Okay, say for example, if I ask someone to give me 10 bucks, if he has, he will give 10 bucks to me. Then he will tell, okay, you have to return this to me by this date. Okay, so that is what is the exchange of messages, right? That is how we interact with the different people, not with respect to money, for anything. Okay, if you want to tell or if you want to communicate anything to anyone, so you say something to the other person in response, he will either listen or he will respond back to you. So all those things, those are all nothing but your interaction. So you are giving, I mean, saying something to the other person is saying, I mean, responding back to you. All these things are in object-oriented programming, we call it as messages. Okay, so if you consider the humans as objects, two objects are interacting with each other in this case, right? So they are passing messages to each other. Means your say for example, you have two objects, they have methods. Okay, by calling one object's method in another object, okay, so what you are doing, you are actually passing information from one object to another object to do something. Okay, so the object A passes some values to object B, and object B in return does something, processes it, and then returns some value back to object A. Okay, just for an example. Okay, that's what I'm telling. Just for an example, I'm explaining these things. Okay, that is where that is why these things are called as object-oriented programming. Okay, so wherever you see in our real life, right, we interact with objects. If you want to write, you take a pen and write on paper. Okay, so similar to that one. So what we are doing in real life, we are trying to kind of like interact with the different objects, be it human, be it animals, be it normal objects like pen or a book, reading a book, all those things, right? Similar to the, based on these object-oriented, based on these real life scenarios, these programming, like I mean, we program using objects in object-oriented programming. Okay. So did it? I mean, did everyone understand whatever I told? Did it make sense? Whatever I just told? Okay. Okay. So Java is, we know that it's an object-oriented programming. So whatever the concept that you see in real life, okay, they can be implemented using Java programs. okay, by creating respective objects. Okay, we will see slowly. We will see how we can create, how we can implement a particular concept using objects in Java program. Okay, using Java syntax or constructs. Okay, that is why it is called as object-oriented programming. Okay, so we know, like as I told in the beginning of the class, we cannot write anything without defining a class. So everything has to be encapsulated within any code. Even a single line of code, if you want to write in Java, that needs to be written inside a class by defining a class. Okay, by defining a class. So we know that the basic block, this is a block, right? The curly braces, okay, open and closing curly braces, this defines a block. This is the basic, this defines a basic encapsulating entity, right? This is the basic thing where you encapsulate a particular, whatever the things that you want to encapsulate in Java, okay? So class also, it defines, we have seen like methods have their own scopes. Similar to that one, class also has its own scope. Okay, so we'll discuss that a bit later. Okay, so let us see how to define a class. Okay, so we have seen these things, right? We have shapes and we have nature. In other words, state and then behavior, how they behave, okay, state and behavior. So that is nothing but your data and the code. Okay, this code is nothing but your behavior, and this is nothing but state of an object. This defines the state of an object. We will see what are these things, okay? And then a particular class, it can be like we are defining this as the data plus code, right? So it can either have only data, it can have either only code, or it can have both. Okay, but in real life, a particular class will have both a data as well as code. So this is nothing but your methods, and this is your instance variables. Instance variables. Okay. So what actually is done with this code? Why do we have? Why should we have both code and data? Okay. Generally, what we do is we will have this data and allow this particular code, which is nothing but methods, to access this particular data or modify this particular data. We will not give access to this data outside of this particular outside of a particular class. Okay. Generally, we'll make this as the data as private, but most of the times the code will be public. Okay. So we will see all these things. So class is nothing but data plus code. Let's move to the next slide. So this is the basic definition of a class. So how do we define a class? So we specify access specifier. So till now we have seen two things, right? Two access specifiers, private and public. Okay. If you don't specify, that will be your default access specifier. Default access specifier does not have any keyword. These are keywords, right? For private or public. There is one more, that is protected. Okay, we will see about protected when we discuss about inheritance. Okay, so class definitions, we will use the keyword class to define a class. We will use the keyword class. Okay, and then provide an identifier which defines the name of the class. okay, identifier, which gives a name to a class. This is what we, this is where we give, okay. After the class keyword, we give a name to this particular class. We have already seen, right, how to do that. So apart from this, what does this particular class contain? So you will have instance variables. So whenever we declare a variable, right, it will have a type associated with it, right? It will have a type associated with it. Okay, similar to that one, instance variables, we have to specify a type. Okay, here we specify access specifiers as well. But as of now, let us concentrate only on type and instance variables as of now. Okay, this is nothing but your instance variables. Okay, you can define any number of instance variables you want. Okay, you can define any number of instance variables you want. So as we told, these form your data part, because we store data in these variables, instance variables. Data is nothing but your whatever it is, like your integer with primitive data types or complex data types. Complex data types is your string objects or your array objects or any of the user-defined objects or any of the pre-built Java objects. Okay, we will see all those things slowly. Okay, but again, I would like to enhance or emphasize that these classes, right, next 3 to 4 classes, including this, will be very, very important. Okay, they are very, very important. So to become a object-oriented Java programmer. Okay, so and then what do we have? We will have data plus methods, right? So data part is taken care by these instance variables. Okay, what are these methods? They define your behavior of a class. Okay, so there also we have how do you declare a variable? We have seen the basic way of declaring a variable. I mean method we have already seen. That is, we define the return type, then method name, and then parameter list. Okay, parameter list is any number of parameters that you want to pass to a method. We will see in our next class some more details about method. Okay, how to define a method and all those things. We will work on few methods and all. Okay, so parameter list, we will whatever the information or whatever the parameters that we need to pass to a particular method, and this is the return type. If you have anything to be processed and returned to another method, those parameter list we will specify here. It can be empty also. In that case, we'll just mention parenthesis. Okay. So inside this flower bracket, it defines your code block, method code block. All right. Similar to that one, you can have n number of methods. Okay. You can have n number of methods. You can have n number of instance variables. You can have n number of methods. Okay, within a class. These two are combinedly they are called as, or collectively they are called as members of a class. They are called as, collectively they are called as members of a class. Okay, they are collectively called as members of a class. We will see why these are called as instance variables. Why these are called as instance variables. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So let us just write a simple class here. Okay, let us write a simple class here. So with this definition, I will just write a simple class. Okay, public class session 19 type int a int b. Okay, here we have two integers, but we don't have any methods here. Okay, we have not defined any method. That's how you define a particular class. Okay, public, this is our access specifier, Okay, class is a keyword. This is our class and class name. Okay, this is session 19. Okay, class names, as we know, class names should always start with uppercase letters, and then you can have lowercase letters, and then if any other word comes, if second word comes, it will always start with uppercase. Okay, say for example, if you want to rename this one, so the first word is class, the second word is name, and then we will open and close brackets or okay. So this is your first letter is your uppercase of each letter. Okay, I mean each word of first letter of each word should be a capital letter or uppercase letter. Okay, but for instance variables like here, this is first word, first letter, second word, first letter. Okay, for methods, it follows this convention. For classes, it follows this C. Okay, it is exactly, yeah, Abid is telling it is camel case, exactly Abid. It is a camel case because a camel will have like this. Okay, so that is why it is called as the camel case. So let us start following these conventions from the beginning so that it becomes second nature to us. Okay. Okay, the same thing, whatever we have discussed, I have put it in points here. So as you know, we have to use class keyword to define a class. Okay, so it can have data which are nothing but as variables they are called as instance variables. We will see why they are called as instance variables. Okay, code, any code that you write is inside the methods. Okay, so class members collectively they are called, I mean instance variables plus methods, collectively they are called as class members. Okay, so though what we actually do is we allow these methods to act on these variables or the data. Okay, making these variables as private. Okay, these variables generally that is what is followed. Okay, so usually what we do, we will make all the data private and we will access that data through public methods. We'll access those data through public methods. Okay, this is the basic form of your encapsulation, right? So whatever the block of code that you write, it defines a specific scope. It also defines the basic form of encapsulation, right? Whatever you write or whatever the variables that you declare within these flower brackets, okay, curly braces, they are not visible outside of this particular curly braces, right? That means you are not allowing whatever the variables that you declare within these curly braces outside to be accessed, right? This is the basic form of your encapsulation. Similarly, the class also provides a form of encapsulation, right? Okay. So class, if you have methods, we allow, generally that is what is followed. Okay. So methods we allow, using methods only, we will allow the data to be accessed. Okay, data of a particular classes. So through these methods only, we will access this data. Okay. So as we have been discussing, right, as we have been discussing in our previous classes, it is very important to know that a class defines a data type. This is very important. I'll be repeating this time and again. Okay. Class defines a data type. Okay. Class defines a data type. So when you say int, okay, when you say int, it is a data type. It is a data type, right? Int is a data type. Okay, int is a data type. It's a primitive data type. It's a primitive data type. Int is a primitive data type. So when you say int, right? When you say int of int a, you are declaring a variable a of type integer. Okay. So some code, the developers of Java might have written some code for this, but int. So int, okay, a means this occupies 4 bytes. Okay, it occupies 4 bytes, and this defines your range of the int, range of this int. So somebody would have written, the developers of Java would have written some code, okay, which gets executed when you write int a. Some code gets, definitely some code gets executed when you say int a. Okay, when you say int a, some code gets executed. So similarly, whenever we define a class, we are defining some code for a particular data type similar to int. Okay, similar to int, we are defining some code for class. So that defines your data type, as you call it as user defined data type. User defined data type. Okay, so yeah, that is our complex data type. We form this complex data type out of simple data types. For example, we have defined one class, right? So say for example, class A int A. Okay, so this class is a data type which has an integer variable. Okay, this is a primitive data type, but this becomes complex because it is composed of this particular primitive data type. Okay, that is why it is called as complex data type. You can have n number of primitive or object data types as well. Okay, that is why classes are called as complex data type. So whenever we define a class, we are defining a complex data type. Okay, why we define this complex data type? We will see what is the use of defining this particular complex data type. Okay, so next is our instance variables. Okay, so the methods and instance variables are members of your class. So variables within a class are called as instance variables. Okay, so this is an instance variable. Okay, this is an instance variable. Okay, yeah, Kavita is telling instance variables are defined within the class but outside of method. Outside of method. Okay, within the class but outside of method. We will see what she meant. Okay, so instance variables, yes, correct. Whatever Kavita is telling, that is correct. So we have not included this particular variable inside any of the methods. Okay, we know that whatever you declare within a method, okay, within a method, that is called as local variable, because the variable which is declared within a method is not visible outside of that particular method, right? That is a local variable. Okay, that is a local variable, but in case of class A int A, we have not included this variable, that is A, inside any method. Okay, these are called as instance variables. Okay, these are called as instance variables. Okay, so why do we call this as instance variable? We will see that one, what is meant by an instance and why we call this as instance variables. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are defining a data type when we define a class. Okay, I'm telling the same thing again and again because I want all of us to understand this concept very well. Okay, we are defining, whenever we are defining a class, we are defining a data type. Okay, similarly, like similar to int. Okay, just for an example I'm taking. Okay, similar to an int, float, or whatever it is. So okay, so just by saying int, are we defining any variable? Are we defining any variable? No. Int a means we are defining a variable of type int. So a is a variable of type int. A is a variable of type int. So we need int to declare a variable of type int. Please listen carefully, okay? Please listen carefully. So whenever we define a class, we define a data type. This data type can be used to create variables of class type. Okay, this class defines a data type. Okay, this class can be used to define variables of that class type. Okay, variables of that class type. We will see how you get, I mean, what is meant by a variable and what is meant by an object of a class. Okay, we will see that one. So whenever you create an object of a class, okay, whenever you create an object of a class, this is very, very important. Whenever you create an object of a class, each object will have its own copy of instance variables. This is very, very important. Okay. Each object will have its own copy of instance variables. Each object or instance. Each object or instance of a class. Each object or instance of a class will have its own copy of instance variables. Okay. Will have its own copy of instance variables. We will see with an example. We will see what does this mean. Okay. That is why, because each object will have its own copy of variables that you declare, they are called as instance variables. They are called as instance variables because an object of a class is called as an instance. Object of a class is called as instance. That is why, because each object will have its own instance variable, copy of instance variable, they are called as instance variables. Okay, we will see with an example. Okay, so let us see next. Okay, so whatever the data, so each will have, say for example, I defined a class. Okay, int A. So I'm taking very simple example so that we all understand. So assume that we have created two objects of class A. We will see how to create objects. Say assume that we have two objects of class A. A name, you can give name, different name. Okay, say whatever the name, obj1, obj2. These two are objects of type A. We say these two are objects of type A. Okay, so this is one object, this is another object. We will see how those objects will be created. Okay, so when we say each object will have its own copy of instance variable, means this is our instance variable. Okay, so this is one object, this is another object. These two are different objects. Okay, object 1 and object 2. Okay, so this object will have its own copy of int A. Okay, this object will have its own copy of int A. Okay, this object will have its own copy of instance variable. This object will have its own copy of instance variable. Okay, if you assign a value to this integer A, if you assign a value to an integer A, n in object 1, okay, you can assign different value here. Both of these need not have to be same. There is another variable called the class variable. We have seen it already. I think we have seen it, which is defined or declared using static keyword. Static keyword. Okay, if you assign one value to a variable which is static, that is constant throughout any number of objects you create. Okay, that is why they are called as class variables, class level variables. Okay, but these are instance variables. These are instance variables. Why do we call them as instance variables? I'm writing it again because I want all of us to understand this. Okay, this is very important. That's why I'm taking time to explain this. Okay, so once we understand these whatever we discuss in our next 3-4 classes, including this class, right? If we understand that those particular concepts well, we can understand anything in Java. Okay, these are the basis for learning any technology that is in Java. Okay, that is why I want all of us to understand everything very clearly. Even if you have a very simple doubt, okay, even if you think that is very silly to ask, please ask. Okay, please ask any doubt you have with these concepts. Okay, because when we start advanced Java, we will learn servlets, we will learn JSP. Everything is based on your whatever we learn in core Java. Okay, even when we learn Springs, when we learn other technologies, web services, RESTful web services, SOAP web services, whatever that is there in Java, they are all dependent on these particular concepts that we are going to discuss in the next few classes. Okay, including what we discussed before. Okay, so that is why please listen to these classes very carefully. Okay, and whatever the doubts you have, please ask. Okay, so Pawan is asking a question. What is the difference between object and variable? Yes, Pawan, I'll come to your point. Okay, your question. So Pawan is asking what is the difference between object and a variable? We will see that one. Okay, so let me continue with this discussion. So this is a class. He is asking one more question. Can this be deducted that object is a part of class? We will see that, Pawan. Okay, we will see that. That is part of. I mean, that is the thing we are discussing. These are the concepts that we are discussing in today's class. Okay, so whatever the doubts you have, those doubts we will clear it. Okay, so you have asked one more question in email, right? So that also we will discuss. Okay, so whatever the result that you are getting, that is correct. Okay, as I reply to your email, that is correct. Whatever the result you are seeing in output, that is correct. We will see why that is correct. Okay, so I have created, by some means I have created these two objects of type A. I am telling type A because by defining a class, we are defining a data type. The name of the data type will be the name of the class. Okay, name of the data type. Name of the data type will be the name of the class. Name of the data type is the name of the class. Okay, object 1 and object 2. These are all both object 1 and object 2 are of type. Okay, in the next few slides we will understand what exactly of type A means. Okay, what exactly is of type A means. Okay, so this is our instance variable. Okay, this is our instance variable. So what we saw, each object will have a copy of this instance variable. Okay, assume this is a copy of instance variable A, that is of type int. This will also have a copy of A of type int. Okay, so just read this sentence. The data for one object the data for one object or the value of the data for one object is separate and unique from the data for another object. Data is nothing but the variables. Okay, the value for this instance variable A. Okay, it can be both of them can be equal. It depends on what value you assign. If you say assign A is equal to 10, A is equal to 10, the values will be equal, but it is not necessary. Okay, so value of A here can be 10, value of A here can be 20. That is what this particular sentence means. Okay, value, the data is nothing but the values here. Okay, in this particular context, it is value. Value of integer A need not be same as value of integer A in this particular object, in these two objects. Okay. Yeah, Kavita. Yeah, we will discuss all those things. Kavita is saying variable is field, object is instance of class. Yeah, we will see those things, Kavita. We will discuss all those things. Okay. And then let's move on to the next part. So till now, whatever the method that we were discussing was our public static void main, which is the starting point of your Java program execution, right? That is the only method we've been discussing till now. Okay, you can write Java classes without methods. Just now I declared, right, similar to this one. Okay, it doesn't have any methods defined in this. Okay, yeah, it is not mandatory. You can have just members, I mean the instance variables, and you may not have to have methods. Okay, or you can have just methods without any instance variables. That is also possible. But actually, in real life, it will have both. So when you see something, some object, for example, a book, okay, it will have its own shape, it will have its own width, height, and depth, okay. It will have number of pages, so it will contain its own subject or whatever the topic for which that particular book has been written, right? So those are the behaviors of those things. You can like whatever the object you can think, they will have both the state as well as its behavior. Okay, you will understand these terms well as we go on to our later sessions. Okay, so when you start programming, you will understand these terms in a better way. Okay, so no need to worry too much about those things as of now. Okay, so I have just defined a simple class here. The class is book. Okay, so what is the data type that we are defining here? Book. Remember, it starts with uppercase letter, okay, capital letter, okay. The type, this is similar to our int, float, double, boolean, etc. Okay, this is a user defined data type, similar to our int, float, double, boolean, whatnot, whatever we have discussed, temporary type. Okay, did everyone understand till this point? So please raise your hand if you have any doubts. Okay, so we'll come to the questions of Pawan, okay, a little later. So two questions are there. What is the difference between an object and a variable? And what is another question is can this be can this be considered that object is a part of a class? So we will see those things. Okay, so what we are saying, again I'm just highlighting, it defines a data type, and the name, class name defines the new data type that is defined. I'll just mention DT as data type, new data type defined. Okay, new data type defined. So why do we use this int, float, double, boolean to declare a variable of type int, right? So when we say just int, does that declare any variable? It does not declare any variable, right? It does not declare any variable. So when you say int a, that is when you are declaring a variable a. A is the name of a variable of type integer. So we already know any variable that we declare in Java needs to be associated with the data type, right? Because Java is a strongly typed language. Java is a strongly typed language. Okay, there are languages where you may not have to define your data type. Okay, so because we need to define it, we need to associate a data type to a particular variable. Java is called as strongly typed language. Okay, strongly without declaring a data type or mentioning the data type of a variable, that will become a compiler. I mean, if you define a variable, that will become compile time error. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are defining a data type. Data type name is book. So why do we use this book? To declare objects of that particular class. Similar to variable of type, we declare object of a particular class. We define data type, new data type with class to declare objects of that particular class. To declare or define objects of particular class. Okay. So with this book, okay, with book, now we know that book is a user defined data type. Okay, this is what I'm referring. Okay. Book is a data type. We can use book, okay, to define variables of type book. Okay. For example, assume that this defines a variable a of type int. Okay, similar to that one, we can define a variable. Okay, book is a variable. Book is a variable of type book. Remember, Java is case sensitive. Okay, so this is not equal to this one. Both are different because we have b, small b here. Okay, book is a variable of type book. Note that I'm telling book as a type. Okay, because every class defines a data type. So book is a variable of type book. This is the name of the class. So class name is used to declare objects of that particular class. So we will see what is the difference between, like Pawan asked, what is the difference between the variable and an object. Okay, this is just a variable. As of now, this is just a variable. Okay, this is a variable of type book. How to make this an object of type book, we will see that. Okay, so let's move on. So just by saying int, we are not creating any variables of type int, right? Similar to that one, just by declaring are defining a class. We are not creating objects for that class. Okay, it just defines the template. Okay, it just defines the template for a particular objects of that particular class. Okay, so what exactly class definition does? It just defines a template. Just defines a template. That means we are telling, okay, we are just describing a particular object, how that looks. That is what your template. Okay, so when you say this particular object should look like this, okay, you describe, you say like, okay, I want an object like it should look like this. Okay, so it should its color should be red, it should be square, and it should be of this particular length, or it should have I need a cube which is red color with height and length and height as this much, length, height, and depth. Okay, so you want to describe, you want this one, this is your cube. Okay, so you are telling I want a cube with red color, and this is like say for example 1 1 1 whatever it is. Okay, so I want this this object. So what are you telling? Color should be red, length, height, which should be one unit, let it be anything. Okay, and I need a name. The name is I need a cube. Okay, this is what you are describing. This is what you are describing. Okay, yeah, this is what you are describing. Yes, Kavita. This is what you are describing, but this is the actual object you get after it is created or after it is manufactured, whatever it is. This is what is the object that you get. Okay, just by describing an object, describing an object, you are not getting this object, right? You are telling this is what my requirement is. You are telling this is how my object should look. The object that I want should look like this. It should be a cube, it should be red, and the dimension should be 1 unit. The dimension should be 1 unit. Okay, this is just a description. So when you actually get the object to whom you are telling, like I need this is the description of an object that I want, and you tell it to someone who manufactures this particular object, and that guy will create this object or manufacture this object and give it to you. Okay, so that guy can, I mean, like say for example, you tell it to some person A. Okay, he manufactures and give it to you. That is B. You are B. So if the demand is more, somebody else, say for example, C will come and ask for the same thing. This guy can prepare, A can prepare any number of objects, right? Any number of objects. But when you say object 1 and object 2, they are different. Even though they have even though they are cubes and they are red and they have the same dimensions, they are different. Okay, A is having object 1. Let us we have cube. Okay, A is having object 1. A is actually manufacturing. B is having object 1, and C is having object 2. Even though the description of objects are same, when I ask some D to describe both the things, he will say same thing. It's a cube, color is red, and he says the unit is 1. The dimension is 1 unit. Okay, so if you ask both the objects, the description is same, but they are different. Hope everyone is understanding whatever I am telling now. This is very important to understand. Okay, this is very important to understand. Okay, so we can create any number of objects of a class. we can create any number of objects of a class. Class just defines a template. Description for objects of a particular class. So this is just a description. That is what we call here as template. Okay, it is similar to like wherever you see, like wherever the textbooks that you refer, they will tell blueprint. Blueprint for your objects. Why blueprint? So when you are constructing the building, right? When you are constructing a house, home, or whatever it is, the architect will give you a blueprint of your house, apartment, whatever it is, right? But that blueprint will not actually represent the actual home or building, right? So similar to that one, class just defines the template, the blueprint for your building. Actual building represents your object that is specified here. Okay, actual object represents your actual building. Objects represent actual building, but the blueprint is your class. Okay, so how do you create a object of a particular class? We know new operator, right? We use new operator in creating what? Arrays. In creating arrays, we've used new operator. Similar to that one, we use new operator to create objects of a class. Okay, objects of a class. We create or we use new operator. New is the operator. Okay, new is the operator used to create objects of a particular class. Okay, objects of a particular class. Now we know that we have defined book class, right? So how can we define with this syntax? This is the syntax. Okay, this is the syntax for creating an object of a class. This is how you create an object of a class. Okay, so we will see different components involved here. This is one thing. This whole thing is one. Remember, this is, we have a parenthesis here, and then this is the operator, and this one particular component. We will see what are all these things. Okay. So with respect to classes, we have seen system.out.println, right? System.out.println. Okay, we have used a dot operator here. We already know we've been using dot operators, right? We've been using this dot operator, right? So why do we use the dot operator? To access instance variables and methods of a class. Okay, dot operator is used to access instance variables and methods of a class. Okay, so what it does? Name of the object. Remember here, it is not the name of your class, it is the name of the object. It links the name of the object with the members of a class. Members of a class is your object, or it can be your instance variable, instance variable, or your methods. It can be your instance variable or methods. So if you want to access, say for example, instance variable is this. Okay, let us assume that this is an instance, this is an object. So to access some variable, say var, to access an instance variable var using this object, what we do? Inst variable dot var. This is how you can access this particular variable. Okay. Similarly, say I have a method by name method 1. Okay. We can write or we can access that method using dot 1. So open and close parenthesis. We'll pass if there are parameters. We'll pass those parameters here. Okay, in this method, in this parenthesis. Okay. So what are we discussing here? We are discussing how to use dot operator to access members of a class. Members of a class. That also depends on the access specifiers that we assign it to each member. That is instance variable or the methods that we will see later. Okay. So dot operator is used to access instance variables and methods. Okay. This is how you create an object of a class. So we have book. Okay. Book is equal to new book. So this is the name of the class. This is our new operator. This is instance object. We can say this is not an instance variable. This is an object. Okay. Book is an object, and this is the name of the class. So say for example, I have a class by name A. Okay. If I want to create an object of A, I will say A is equal to new E. Okay. If you have a class B is equal to new B. It need not have to be B. It need not have to be A. X is equal to new A. This is just an identifier. Okay. Identifier to identify an object of class A. Okay. B Y is equal to new B. It need not have to be single letter like we have mentioned here. It can be anything. Just to identify an object. Okay. So we know now we know how to create an object and how to access the members using dot operator. Okay. Okay. Let us try a couple of examples with this with the knowledge that we have. Okay. So okay. 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 Pragati is asking what is the main purpose to create an object. Okay. We will see all those things, Pragati. Okay. So now what I have done, I have created a particular class, that is book. Okay. So this book has two instance variables. Why do we call them as instance variables? Okay, we have declared that within class, not within any method. This class has two instance variables. Okay, book name and number of pages. Yeah, Abid, we will come to. I'll come to your question. Okay, Abid is asking again. Abid is asking, why do we write public or private before a class? Okay. Let us have this convention. Okay, right now we will by default we will assign it as public. Okay, so when we discuss about access specifiers, okay, we will discuss a few things with that particular class. That is access specifiers, packages, and interfaces. Okay, that time we will discuss what are all the access specifiers that are there, what is the impact of assigning each access specifier to not only to class. Okay, you can assign those access specifier to individual variables, instance variables, and then methods. Okay, what impact it will have, we will discuss that during that particular session. Okay, so let us by default assign public to the classes that we declare as of now. Okay, so this is a public class. We have two instance variables, book name and number of pages. Book name is of type string. We can assign any string. Number of pages is of type integer. Okay, let us create another class which creates book objects. Okay, this will have static method, public static void main method. So remember, we don't have any method here, even public static void main. Okay, so what I will do, we know how to create an object of a particular class. So that is class name of a object is equal to new class name. Like this we will create. Okay, what is the class that we have now? Book. Okay, so let us give some name to it. My book is equal to new book of this. That's it. So we got an object is my book of type book. Okay, this is one object. Okay, so next I will create my book 1 is equal to new book. Okay, my book 1 is second object. Book 2 is equal to new book. This is similar to what we have been doing with other primitive data types, right? Like say int A, int B, int C. Similar to this, right? Can you see that one, that particular part? Okay. Here in primitive data types, we don't have that new operator. Okay. That we don't have that new operator for primitive data types, but that is how you create here. So similar to this one, what you can do, like you can B, C, similar to that one. What we can do here, book, my book is equal to new book, comma, my book 1 is equal to new book. Okay. Okay, I'm making mistakes. Let's take only one. Okay, so why is that mistake is? Let us make these things. Let us comment these things. Okay, that is the mistake I need. Okay, my book 1 is equal to new book. Okay, now we don't see any errors, right? So similarly, in the same way, we can declare in single line. Okay, we can declare in single line. So now what is this particular book? Okay, what are the instance variables that we have in this book class? We have book name and number of pages. Okay, so now we have two objects of type book, my book and my book 1. Let us use dot operator here. Okay, my book dot, you can see the moment you type dot, Eclipse shows what are all the methods or what are all the members of that particular object we can access. Okay, so it shows book name. I will say book name is equal to okay. So what am I doing here? I am assigning one string to my book, or I'm assigning name to my book. That is, this is my first book. Okay, my book dot number of pages is equal to 100. Okay, this is the data for your first object, that is my book. So let us do the same thing. So we are using dot operator. Okay, we are using dot operator to access instance variables. We can also access methods, but we will see that later. Okay, so now my book what dot book name is equal to my second book. Okay, my book 1 dot number of pages is equal to 200. Okay, so here if you notice, we have only one book class, right? We have only one description, like we had one description for a cube. Okay, we have only one class, but we are assigning or we are creating multiple objects. Okay, we are creating multiple objects, and we saw like each object is different. Each object is unique and different. Okay, each object is unique and different. That means this object is not equal to this particular object. Okay, this is not the same object as this object. Okay, it is similar to like say for example, you have you meet two people by name Vikram. Okay, you meet two people by name Vikram. Both their names are Vikram, but they are not same. Right? Similar to that one, they both are humans, right? Similar to that, we have two objects, my book and my book 1. Okay, they both are of type book. Vikrams are both humans, but they are not same. Okay, my book and my book 1. Okay, so each object will have its own copy of instance variables. Okay, for example, both Vikrams will have two eyes. Okay, the eye color of one person may be black, the eye color of other person may be brown. Okay, but eye is an instance variable there. Okay, similar to that one, book name is an instance variable of book, but each object will have its own copy of book name. Okay, each object of book will have its own copy of number of pages. Okay, if you define another instance variable, we can access that as well. Okay, let us try that also. Yes, correct. Yeah, that was my next point here. So he is suggesting me to print the values. Okay, he is suggesting me to print the values. So what he is telling is, it will clear all our doubts. So my point is, let us try to understand those things, and when we try to print it, we all will understand it very clearly, right? Good point here. So the point is, each will have its own copy, right, of instance variables. So we can assign different values to each copy of instance variables. Okay, so these things are for book 1. So I am going slowly, or I am telling slowly all these things very slowly, so that everyone understands. Okay, so that everyone understands. That is my intention or my the takeaway from this particular session. Okay, so let us print as Hugh told. Let us print this value. Yes. Okay. So what I will do, I will print only the values of my book first. Okay, print ln book name plus my book dot book name. Okay, so let us try to print this one. Okay, you can see this one. First book name is my first book. Second book name is my second book. Okay, so each object has its own values for its instance variables as we have assigned here. Okay, each object has its own values for its instance variables as assigned in these statements. For example, I can copy paste these two things for okay. So you can see the difference, right? So first book name is my first book, second book name is my second book. Okay, first book pages is 100 as we have assigned here. Second book pages is 200, right, as we have assigned here. So X is 100 here, X is 200 here, right? So I think we will stop here, and if anyone has any doubts, please let me know. Okay, please let me know if anyone has any doubts. I will come to you, Pawan. Okay, I will come to your questions in the next class probably. Okay, we will try to. I mean, okay. So all your questions I will answer. Okay, I will give an answer to all your questions, Pawan. Okay, so let us stop here. Please let me know if you have any doubts. Even if you have if you think that particular doubt may seem silly, please ask it. Okay, so that is how we clarify our doubts. Okay, that is how we clarify our doubts. So let us clarify whatever the doubts we have with respect to classes, right, now itself. And I think it is Pawan. He wanted a particular session for two-dimensional arrays, or I think for a single and two-dimensional arrays. If I am not wrong, is that Pawan who was asking? I think it is Pawan only. Yeah. So please let me know with respect to classes, whatever we have discussed so far in today's class, right? Whatever the doubts you have, please let me know. Otherwise, we will stop here and we will continue from next class. Okay, next session. Okay. So no doubts. Okay. Yeah, Pawan. Go ahead and ask your doubt. Pawan, do you have any doubt? Do you have any doubt, Pawan? Okay, he doesn't have anything. Yeah, I have unmuted you. I mean, you can speak now. We are not able to hear you, Pawan. No, we are not able to hear you. Maybe you're on mute or something. Okay, yeah, you can type your question. You can type your doubt, okay. Yeah, Pawan is asking, we have defined book class and book objects in different programs. Yes, correct, different classes actually. Okay, you can define both the book class and book objects, right, in the same file itself. Say for example, I can have another class here, okay, but it cannot be a public class, it can be some other class, okay. Say for example, another book, okay, you can have like this. So same thing, copy paste here. Okay, this is a class. You have to name this class as book objects because book objects is your public class. Okay, it cannot be public class here because in a particular file you cannot have two public classes. Only one public class you can have. Okay, so this is a class. So to declare an object, you can come to this particular main method. So similar to this one, you can have another book, book X. Book Y. So Pawan is asking, how does Eclipse understand it to be predefined class? Which one you are telling, Pawan? Which is the predefined class? Book or another book? So these are all, say for example, so we will discuss the packages and all. Okay, so this is one particular package, session 19, right? In that session 19 itself, we have book as well as the book objects. Okay, they are in the same package, and book is public. Okay, like Abid was asking, right? Why we are called this as a public class? Okay, so that is how this class is. This particular book class is accessible to book objects. Okay, we know the book objects will know the definition of this book because they are in the same package. Even if you don't put public here, right? This book object will be able to recognize that particular class book. Okay, we will see when we understand the access specifiers, right? Let us start try to understand the classes. Okay, then we will go to access specifiers. Then it makes sense, a lot of sense. Okay, and so book object will be able to identify that there is a book class and we are creating an object of that particular book class. Because all these things, right, whatever the class that you specify here under a particular package, they're all in the class path. Okay, Java will identify or it will try to find out any class which is inside its class path. That is where we define class path for Java. Okay, by default Eclipse will have its own class path set, right? So all these things, whatever you specify here, everything will be in the class path defined for the particular Eclipse project. Okay, that's how it identifies. It is yeah, it is predefined. Okay, Pragati is asking, in this example we have assigned my book x, my book dot x is equal to 100f, while we print it displays 100.1. So f is what? F is of type float, right, Pragati? F is of type float. It is not integer. So anything which is floating point data type, right? That will be printed like this 100.0. 100.0. Okay. If you try to print integer, it will not add dot to that. Okay. In order to identify that it is a floating point value, or the value is of type floating point, be it float or double, it adds dot 0 if you don't specify any fractional part. Okay. My question is why we have used 100F. Okay. So 100F we have used because the default floating point in Java is double. Okay. So if I specify, say for example, double is equal to 200. This is also a floating point type. Okay, this is also a floating point type, but I have not specified any or assigned any letter to this, say D or D. Okay, so when you say a value, say for example, when you say a value of like this, okay, dot some with fractional value, it means it is a double value. Okay, so if you want a floating point value, you cannot assign values like this. Okay, because this is your double value, double literal. If you say it properly, this is a double literal, but we are trying to make it float. So we know this one, right? Casting, type casting. That's why we can assign it. But if you want float literal to be assigned to my float, you have to do like this. Suffix it with F. Okay, that is why we have done 100F and 200F here, because this is a floating point type float. Okay, did it answer your question, Pragati? And Pawan is asking book. Okay, Pawan is telling book. So I can understand that different files in a single package are the same file. No, no, Pawan. So what Pawan is asking is, can I understand that different files in a single package are the same file? So in simple terms, see here. So Pawan is asking, are these two things same file? No, this is a different file. This is a different file. Okay, I'll show you those two things. They both are different files. Okay. See here, this is a different file, this is a different file. They both are different files, but book objects, right? In book objects, we are creating, I mean, in book Java file, in book code, right? It has public static void main. That is where we are creating. It need not have to be public static void main method. You can create these objects within any other method or wherever you want within a class. Okay. So we are creating this object of type this book. So did you? So whenever I told, right, it is similar to creating any primitive variable, right? Int a. Okay. So how does Java identifies int? How does Java identifies int? So it is built in within Java compiler, right? So similar to that one, those whenever created primitive data type, Java will know how to identify the definition for the data type, that is int or float or double. Similar to that, that is done using your class path environment variable. Okay, that is done using your class path environment variable. Whenever you create an project in Eclipse, right, specific class path will be set for Eclipse for that particular workspace. for this particular workspace. Okay, for this particular workspace, class path will be set. So that class path will include all the packages that you create under one particular project. Okay, so any class that you create under that particular package or under that project, right? If you have a definition for a particular class, or if you have defined a particular class, it will easily identify, like we did it with respect to book. Okay, if it is public, okay, say for example arrays.java is there. So can I create a object of arrays.java? Why? This is a public. Sorry. Okay, so okay, we are not able to access. Okay, we have to import that particular class. Okay, so even if it is public, it is in different package. So we have to import that particular package to access it. Okay, we'll see these concepts in later session. But that's what, if you want to identify, right? This gets converted into like this. Okay, there should be a session 11 folder. Inside that you will have arrays.java file. That is how it gets converted. Okay, so dot is converted into your class path or your folder structure. Okay, so that is how it identifies. Actually, Eclipse will identify, because the class path includes whatever the package that you write, right? That because book and book objects are at the same package, we are not importing anything here. Importing is nothing but you are importing a definition of particular class here. Okay, so we need not have to import book, because they both are in the same package, and it's a public class. Both are public class. Okay. Flag data type. Okay, so Pragati is asking. Pragati is asking, is it because of flag data type? I did not understand your question, Pragati. I did not get your doubt. Yeah, seems like Pragati got her answer. Yeah. Okay, so what is your question, Pawan? I'll yeah, tell me. Float. Okay, float thing you understood. Okay, it is FLOAT, small f. Okay, Pragati. So no worries. So yeah, Pawan, what is your actual doubt? So we don't, this book.java and bookobjects.java, both are different files. Okay, so book has its own code, right? And we are creating objects of book in our book objects.java. So when you create an object of a particular class, right, that particular class definition should be available to the second class, that is bookobjects.java. Okay, so since both book.java and bookobjects.java both are in the same package, bookobjects.java can easily understand the definition of book.java. Okay, so let me know if you still have any doubt, or what we can do is just write an email to me. Okay, I will try to respond to you, Pawan. Okay, intuitionjavatraining@gmail.com. Okay, intuition.javatraining@gmail.com. Okay, please write all your doubts you have. Write an email with all the doubts you have. Okay, I will get back to you. I'll get back to you. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's almost 10:07. Yeah, thanks, Pawan. Yeah, thanks a lot. Let us not make others wait here. So we will discuss more about classes in tomorrow's session. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot. Let us stop the session here. We'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Bye. Thanks, everyone, for attending this session. Bye.